Hey everyone, it has been a while since we last spoke, and I apologize for that, but welcome to what is now year 13 for me on YouTube. Can't believe it has been that long. It's flown by. If you're here for the very first time or for the 13th consecutive year, just know that I appreciate you. Thank you for visiting the channel. We can continue all these conversations in the comments below the video or on Twitter. I usually save this information for the end of the video, but it feels pertinent and perfect right here. So here it is. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Always talking sports on there, primarily Bills football, especially during the season. Anyway, I didn't make a post-draft or schedule analysis video that I have in the past, and again, I apologize for that. I know content is king, and I've left you guys hanging high and dry for a couple of months, but it is week 1 of 18 this year of the 2021 NFL season, and I am back because the Bills are back. Their week 1 opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We could start there. We're going to hold off on that a little bit. Steelers fans, if you come to the video, don't worry. I'm going to rip your team in just a little bit. Okay? Maybe you're ripping your own team, but I'm definitely going to rip your team. Okay? We could start with Bills fans' expectations for the team this season, which I think are pretty high. Understandably pretty high. I'm going to begin with some of the changes the Bills made to the roster because I didn't get to make like a post-draft or free agent edition type of video. And then honestly, there's not that many. I went through the Bills' 53-man roster, and I counted 42. I'm going to say there's a margin of error of 1. But about 42 of 53 players are returning from the previous season, from 2020. That seems absurdly high to me. With the amount of turnover that is commonplace in the NFL, like, doesn't that feel high? I really don't know what it usually is from year to year amongst teams, but 42 feels pretty high. You know, and 5 of those players are rookies, so there's 11 new players. 5 of them are rookies, 6 are free agents. There's, Emmanuel Sanders is probably the most notable. You swap John Brown for Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think you'll really notice a huge difference there. I think Emmanuel Sanders is a super reliable player. The Bills can go 4 wide with Diggs, Beasley, and Sanders in the slot with Gabriel Davis outside. I mean, they're going to find it. There's going to be a mismatch somewhere. One of those guys is getting open. Cole Beasley and Diggs do it on their own. Emmanuel Sanders has done it throughout his entire career. I know he's a little bit older, on the wrong side of 30, they say, but I don't have evidence to prove that he can't play at this point of his career or can't get open. I think he's going to be an asset to the team, just in the same sense that John Brown was. There's just no reason to believe the Bills would be worse off offensively. They're returning all of their offensive linemen: Dawkins, Feliciano, Morse, Cody Ford in there, Darrell Williams. They re-signed everybody. The running backs are back. Moss, Singletary, they added Matt Breida, who's, a speed back, more of a home run threat. So, remains to be seen how they will use him. But they brought Isaiah McKenzie back as like type of gadget player, as a returner in place of Andre Roberts. So I think that this is a played out phrase, obviously, but like sky's the limit really for the Bills offense. They finished second in total yards, total points, I believe, last year behind Green Bay. I expect them to be in the top 3, certainly the top 5, probably the top 3 again this year. There's no reason to believe that they would regress. I mean, they went 13-3 in the regular season. Again, no reason to believe that they would regress. And you should expect them to be a little bit better on defense. I know that some of the players are getting a little bit older. Poyer and Hyde, we still think, are in the not necessarily the prime of their careers, but they're very smart football players that have been playing together for a couple of years now, a few years now, and they play very well with each other. Tre'Davious White as well. Levi Wallace is back. I think a lot of fans are high on Dane Jackson. He's probably due to see some snaps. But like even Saran Neal and like Jaquan Johnson, these their depth players have been here, have been in this system. I don't love the word system, but that's I guess that's what it is. Everyone just says system like they understand what it is. Oh, the Bills system. I don't know what it is really. I watch them. I don't know what their system is, to be honest with you. But I know that these guys have been in it. That's my point. And, Jerry Hughes is there, a year older, but still an effective pass rusher. Oliver is back. He had a bit of a down sophomore year, but Star Lotulelei is back next to him. So maybe that benefits the defensive line. Mario Addison is there. They beefed up the defensive line. Like, I just named 4 players that have already been here. Haven't even named the 2 rookies yet, Greg Rousseau and Boogie Basham, Carlos Basham. along with A.J. Epinesa, who should take a nice stride in his second year. So the Bills were like, let's beef up the D-line. They were like, let's beef up on both sides of the line, honestly. They went in the draft, they got Spencer Brown, huge player. Just a huge tackle, maybe is the right tackle of the future. Well, that remains to be seen. Doesn't have to be right now. Tommy Doyle, same thing. And they still brought back depth players like Ike Butker and Ryan Bates. You know, those guys are returning. Like, this is... It's just... To just have so much of your team coming back, I mean, that only just feeds into the optimism that fans are feeling. Like I said, they finished 13-3 last year. I know there's 17 games this year. But there's absolutely no reason to think that they would regress moving forward. There's no reason whatsoever. Where did they get worse? I mean, if you want to point to something, it's like, well, they might not be able to rush the passer as well. Okay, they didn't really rush the passer that well last year, and they won 13 games, went to the AFC Championship. Did it maybe bite them a little bit in the AFC Championship? Sure. That's why they went out and got Rousseau and Basham. Okay. Well, they couldn't really run the ball that well. Again, I don't get hung up on running the football and like being a balanced offense and stuff. I mean, I never would have thought that it would be the Bills that maybe showed this to the league, but the Buffalo Bills may have shown the league that you can pretty much throw on every play and be successful. I don't look back at the AFC Championship and think, oh man, if we could only have just run the ball. And I know, okay, some people will look at you like, Greg, it's not really about running the ball more, it's about running the ball more effectively. And I understand that when you turn around and hand off the football, you want to be able to get like 4 or 5 yards, or maybe break a first down here or there. I get that. You don't want to be just turning around, wasting it down. I mean, like I said, I understand that. I don't think the Bills are wasting plays whenever they drop back to pass, because they're so good at it. I really just can't believe how good at it they are. They're so good at it that they gave their quarterback $250 million. That's right, Josh Allen is here to stay. I'm not sure I would have done it this year, to be completely frank with you. I might have been like, hey, you just one more time, and then we'll talk. We'll talk about making you the highest paid player in the league, or the second highest paid player in the entire NFL, behind Patrick Mahomes. Like, just make sure this wasn't a fluke. I don't think it was. I really don't think it was. They're even returning the offensive coordinator. Brian Dable didn't get a head coaching job, which to me is amazing. I think he's a shoo-in for next year. I just can't believe a team like the Chargers, for instance, would interview Dable, have Justin Herbert, and see what Dable has done with Josh Allen, and just be like, you're not our guy. No, thanks for coming, but no thanks. I mean, I don't know how he interviews or anything like that. There's a lot of different circumstances that I'm not privy to, obviously. But it just seemed like a really good match. A really good match for them, and maybe a missed opportunity for the Chargers. But I do expect the Chargers, obviously, to be better. Anyway, this video is not about the Chargers. We're talking about your expectations for the Bills. So, what are you guys thinking? There's an overriding point I want to get to. Like, how far are the Bills going to go? I mean, you know that they have Super Bowl aspirations, that they are a Super Bowl contender. So a question that I've talked about with my buddies is, if they lost an AFC Championship game again, would you be upset? You'd be like, man, I'd be super disappointed. But, like, if you're getting to the Final Four, that's great, obviously. And I think that there's one caveat of that conversation. That AFC Championship loss is only acceptable if it's to Kansas City. Am I right? Like, if the Bills win home field advantage or something, or have a home game for the AFC Championship and lose to Baltimore or lose to Cleveland, you know, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be like, oh, that's failure. Not like fire the coach, remove the quarterback, that type of failure. But I'm going to be like, that sucks. Like, we should have won that game. I didn't ever really think going into Kansas City last year, I'm like, we should win this game. I'm like, I went into that, I went to the game thinking, this is tough, but this is the Final Four. Like, this is what you're here for. If the Bills are at home, and that's something they stressed after losing to Kansas City, is the importance of that game being at home. So they want home field advantage. They're gunning for home field advantage this year. And if they get it, and they play like Cleveland, even Kansas City maybe, even Kansas City again in the AFC Championship, you know, and they lose that home game, that's going to be a bit more crushing than this past year was. Although this past year was just such a ride. You know, we don't know what it's like to be good year after year after year. Like the Patriots were in that mode where it's like, if we don't go to the Super Bowl, like this is a failure. This is a complete failure because we're just that good. We just dominate year after year after year. We haven't been there. but we might be approaching that. Our window is opening. Is open. It is open. Not opening, it is open. It's time to go through it, you know. It starts this week with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that Steelers fans I despise. Like I don't despise Steeler fans. I didn't mean it like that. I don't despise the Pittsburgh Steelers as an organization or anything like that. I hate the team as presently constructed. I think it's useless, really. You are just scratching and clawing to stay relevant and try to put pieces around Ben when he is washed. Okay, I know he threw for like 3,800 yards last year. You started 11-0, but you saw how that played out over the last 6 weeks of the season, right? They started 11-0 and finished 12-5 overall, including a loss to the Bills on Sunday Night Football. I mean, they were absolutely embarrassed against Cleveland in the playoff game. And I know they turned the ball over 5 times, but I can't believe that you would just go to that game or watch that game, watch it back, and be like, Ben, we owe you this favor. If you want to come back, you can come back. And then he does, in true Ben Roethlisberger fashion. He just, every year, this is an annual thing with this guy, like, I don't know if I want to play. I guess I'll come back one more time. And, I mean, he looks like 49, okay? He's 39 years old. He looks 49. He looks terrible. And, you know, now his center, Maurkice Pouncey, like one of his best friends, retired. They have no semblance of an offensive line in front of him. They have rookies all over the place, right? Dan Moore, I believe, is a rookie. Okorafor has been there. But Trey Turner, you know, was good with the Panthers a couple years ago. I wouldn't be optimistic about that working out. You know, they lost Pouncey, they lost DeCastro, who's been injured a lot, obviously, but they put Kendrick Green, a rookie, in there at center. You know, Dotson, I believe, has he been a depth lineman for them for the past couple of years. I just would not be optimistic about them holding up for Ben, who really just needs to drop back and throw immediately. That's what he was doing towards the end of last year. He's just dropping back and immediately throwing passes. Like, that's why Deontay Johnson got so many targets, I feel like, because he just gets open quicker in the route. Everything is like a 5-yard play to them. 5 yards here or deep to Claypool. That's really all they do. And that's kind of why Juju, I think, struggled, because, you know, Antonio Brown would, you know, really stretch the field and shift coverages and things like that. Again, I don't pretend to know the system. And then Juju was just like, oh, I'm underneath. Like, I'm open. I'm going to get open because they're all shading towards Antonio Brown. And, you know, everyone thought that he wouldn't be impacted too much or that he was better or something like this. The Steelers just do this. They do this every time. They do this every year. Like, they let Bud Dupree go. I know he tore his ACL. Are they about to let T.J. Watt go? Like, they do it every year with, like, different players. It was Antonio Brown. Before that was Mike Wallace. Before that was Plaxico Burress. You know, like, they just let their good players go. It really hasn't bitten them, I suppose, but, like, they haven't been good. Like, everyone just thinks they're, like, a top-flight franchise, and why? They've won like 3 playoff games in the last like 6 years. They beat Matt Moore. They beat Alex Smith. Matt Moore with the Dolphins. Alex Smith with the Chiefs, which I guess is an okay win. And, oh, the third one is getting away from me right now. A.J. McCarron. The A.J. McCarron game. They probably had one, but Burfict is an idiot. Okay? And, like, here the Steelers, they're like, okay, well, we'll just get back to Steeler football. We'll draft Najee Harris, who I think is a phenomenal talent. And I like Pat Freiermuth, too. I like both of those players. I hate the quarterback. I hate the, like, we're going to turn around, we're going to hand it off, and that's how we're going to win. Steelers football, smash mouth. I know, they're so good on defense. They are. They were top 3 on defense last year. Incredible pass rush, as long as T.J. Watt is there. Still like Cameron Hayward. Love Devin Bush. Like Highsmith, even. Hayden's there. Minka. Terrell Edmonds, Train's brother. Like, you have fantastic players on defense. I just think that you're clinging to something that just isn't there. Okay? There's my Steeler rant. The Bills are better than the Steelers. I mean, they're 5.5 or 6.5 point favorites against the Steelers this Sunday, and I think that'll hold true. I'm going to pick the Bills to beat the Steelers. Let's go with 31-23. I think the Steelers will move the football a little bit. I think Najee Harris is a tremendous talent, and, you know, despite the offensive line issues, I think he'll run the ball pretty well because they're not going to get in this spread formation. The Steelers were getting that spread formation last year, and people were like, we don't care. Like, you're not threatening us at all. And I think that's going to be more of the same when they try to throw the ball this year, despite the talent they have at receiver. Anyway, Bills 1-0 after this week, right? 31-23 over the Steelers. Guys, once again, Thank you for coming this far in the video. Thank you for coming to my 13th year on YouTube. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. So excited for all of you that will be back in the stadium. If you know what I do there, look for me. You know where to look. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy week 1. As always, above all else, go Bills.